What would be my commitment to come back here, especially when, even though you've been avoiding yourself internally, the public scrutiny. I think it's important that you show that you're committed to getting Notre Dame where Notre Dame wants to be. Number three, would I be accountable to get that to that point? Because being committed is one thing, but you also have to have the accountability to go ahead and have that done. And tying right into that led to your change question. To be accountable, you had to have a game plan of how you were going to fix things. And I think that when I sat down with him on Tuesday, we saw that it wasn't, everything eye to eye, but I think that our vision and our perspective, was married very closely to the list of things. I said, here's how I see it. And then after I said, here's how I see it, here's how he saw it. And to be honest with you, most of that list was covered on both lists. And I think that because I think that if our discrepancies were more, it might have gone in another direction. But because we had a plan in place, here's all the problems and here's potential or probable solutions to the problem, I think that's why we move forward.
Jack used the word unacceptable when he was talking to me, at least in terms of this year. Do you think that's too strong, or do you think that's accurate? And then what's acceptable next year?
Well, I think that, let's not take the cop-out way out. I'm going to give an example of one thing and then give a more blunt answer to it, Brian. You win one more game and you're 7-5 and you're going to the Gator Bowl. The big question would be not if you're going to the Gator Bowl, but do you deserve to go to the Gator Bowl? I think let's harp more back on those 3 games that I just talked about. Not finishing those games out and closing out the year. If we're sitting here 9-3 right now after a 3-9 year, I think everyone would say, well, that's not great, but that's a pretty darn good turnaround. But that's not the way it was. It was 6-6. So I agree with them. I don't disagree with them. I agree with it that 6-6 is not acceptable, and that you have to be moving. I think it's important that you're moving towards the BCS discussion. I don't think you can be just a mediocre football team at Notre Dame if you're not in the BCS discussion. I'm not saying you're playing for the national championship game every year, but you have to be in the discussion. And if you're not in the discussion, I don't think that's what anyone who went to Notre Dame or roots for Notre Dame would ever be looking for.
How difficult was it for you to perform at 100% efficiency with a knee that's been equated to a car crash injury?
I don't think it affected my mind. I think that's the critical factor is whether it affects your mind. Now, I think several fans might beg to differ. Okay, but personally, it didn't affect my mind. So therefore, it doesn't affect what you're able to do as a coach. I think that would be a cop-out on my part. It would be easy for me to sit there, hey, my right one's hurting worse than my left one. I got a shot in that today just to get through the next 2 weeks of recruiting. But my knees are not the reason why we went 6-6. I'd love to be able to use that one, but that would not be apropos.